Hi, buddies. Welcome to Friday, the Friday edition of Barn Burner, the podcast. We are up and rolling as we head into a very interesting weekend. Indeed. All of us. I don't know that I was overly looking forward to the Heritage Classic. Of course, it's going to be great. Always fun when those two teams play and it's outside. It'll be fun to watch. A little more on the line.
Is that right?
Given what's happened, what's transpired in the last 48 hours or so.
First place, that's what we're fighting for here.
Yeah, that's right. There's there's Pinder. It's Friday is Hawaiian shirt day. So if you want to wear a Hawaiian shirt and jeans, and there's Retro looking sharp in his Afterburner t-shirt.
Yep.
Are those available at nationgear.ca? Have we got any of those kicking around still? Looks good though.
I sure hope so.
Excuse me?
I sure hope so. They're beautiful. They fit. They're kind of the nice fabric, comfy, nice to wear on a Friday afternoon.
It's really nice.
And you worked Afterburner last night.
He was great.
Had a great time with Brian Pinder and Afterburner. Didn't lose my mind at all. Kept it calm and cool. Didn't freak out. Don't think I swore.
Where are you right now?
I'm in the coach's room at the Academy of Hockey here, and then James. He's got a big game this afternoon. You gotta get ready to go.
By Jimmy.
Yeah. Do you see that comment? I'm not sure because you're on your phone. Is it the print loud enough there that you can read it?
Yes, Helium Rant is back.
Or Chipmunk Rank is the other one. Remember the Chipmunks?
So I don't sound great.
You sound phenomenal.
I would say maybe we'll reset. Want to try that? You want to?
All right. Should I go right to the big unit, or
I'd go to Randy
what are we talking
Johnson,
about?
this thing, yeah.
Jack? You go to the big unit or not?
Maybe the audio only version you can.
Hi.
Yeah. All right. See you in a minute. Seems appropriate, right?
You sounded good last night, to be fair.
Things just aren't quite where they need to be right now.
Yeah.
Is that the first time we've had, because we used to get it at the old place. I don't know that we've had him Chipmunk Red on this. Anyway.
Robo Rhett. It's been a while.
Well, see, now we can't start because we got a lot to get to. But I feel like we need him around. Flames last night lose 3-0. That's now 4 straight defeats.
Ooh.
And there's that, and I kind of believe it to be true. I don't think it's gospel, but a lot of times when teams are losing, they'll start playing better before they come out of a losing skid. Mm-hmm. And when a team's winning a bunch, they'll start getting sloppy before they start losing it, or at least before they have the winning streak broken. This doesn't look like a team that's close to coming out of a losing streak. It looks like they are still trending downwards, which I find concerning.
It would be tough to consider this rock bottom if they went on to lose to a 1-win Oilers team outdoors on a promoted coast-to-coast game in North America.
Still room?
Still room.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
It's an interesting one for sure. One of the things that if I'm a fan, an observer, if I'm a coach, whatever, if you have any investment in this team,
mm-hmm.
The thing that concerns me maybe the most is that yesterday's performance, as awful as it was, the worst performance of the year, and there have been some bad ones.
Was that the worst for you?
This was the worst of the year.
Okay. Because there was no excuse about a back-to-back. It wasn't your first back.
And here's why. Here's why. The reason why this concerns me the most, and why I feel this is the worst one, is you had a holy crap moment after the road trip. Yeah. And then you came home and you played pretty well, but you lost. And then you had some players saying, we're playing as individuals. Mm-hmm. We need to play as a team. It was brought to the attention that the effort, the work ethic, the individual play, the need to come together as a team, that was already voiced. They had obviously talked about that in the room. And how do you follow that up with that yesterday? So none of it's taking hold. They don't believe what they're selling, even to themselves. They can tell the media and the fans that, we were not playing very good, and yeah, we deserve to get booed, and we need to come out of. That does not look like a team to me that believes in itself right now.
You're right about the disheartening thing. When you play the card of like I think about the Blue Jays when they went on a huge losing skid, they had a players only meeting and they come out of it and you play poorly out of that. You're like, well, what did we accomplish here, fellas?
Yeah.
You've played that card. You've publicly aerated yourself for not being good enough to follow up those types of moments with worse play. Not good at all. And then what we're hearing now is, yeah, we said we needed to be better. We said we needed to work harder. We just laid an egg. We had our will broken. We're playing like shit right now. I would have booed too if I was a fan. We heard all sort of varieties of those three things from players in post game. And it's like, basically they got to dunk on themselves for trying to call each other out at not working and actually performing much worse against a lesser team. This is the Blues, not the blue shirts.
Yeah. And it's tough to say it's a lesser team, right? It's kind of even hard to say. Let's let you kind of paraphrase some of the comments. Let's go to, I put together a collection of the post-game comments last night. Mackenzie Weegar, Elias Lindholm, and starting things off, Nikita Zadorov.
I apologize to our fans. Playing like shit right now, so it's tough to watch.
Looking around and waiting for something good to happen, but unless we work, nothing's going to change.
As much as you hate hearing the boos, it's a bit of a wake-up call for us. We're not a good enough team right now.
I don't know anyone that likes losing, so now we're played like 3 games in a row, so it's gotta change pretty quick.
We're having trouble scoring. We have trouble, sort of breaking the puck out at times. We have trouble in the neutral zone. We're disconnected right now.
It's frustrating when we talk and nothing changes.
You got one thing, and it's pride, and I think they broke our will tonight, and you could kind of tell in the third period that we couldn't get anything going.
Everybody's sick of losing for sure. Yeah, I don't want to lose 4 in a row. It's still early in the season. We can fix that stuff. I believe in this team. I think we have a really good team. Really good skill players, so I think we can get out of it. Just embarrassing in front of our fans tonight for sure.
We come back tomorrow and we work our ass off, and that's all we can do.
So,
a lot of words.
It's a lot of words, and they're not wrong. Yeah, they deserve to be booed. They were not very good. They couldn't get the puck out. I never like hearing. And I'm not saying don't say it. It's when you hear one of the guys say our spirit was broken.
Our will, yeah. And I think when you take single lines out of large quotes, you can sometimes miss it. But it sounded like in this game for Mackenzie Weegar, that's where it was taken away from them. I don't think he's saying that this group doesn't believe anymore in the season's dead. I think he's specifically talking about last night's game where they lost it.
That second period was really incredible to watch.
Was it?
If you're a Blues fan.
I was
or
listening.
If you have insomnia.
Because I had to watch it later. I was out doing stuff, but I had the radio on.
Yeah.
And I was listening to Derek Wills. And Wills doesn't get too negative very often. But he even said, I don't want to get to, I don't want to be, I'm paraphrasing now. He's like, I don't want to be too negative or go too far. But the Flames are having a hard time even connecting a pass. Even completing a pass right now. So then when I got home, I was, okay, I want to see this thing on the PVR. And yeah, he was right. It's the simplest parts of the game was out of their reach last night. An amazing effort after an almost come to Jesus moment after the road trip and then the Rangers. And now it's another loss. And it's the power play continues. An 0-for-2 last night. They're now, where are they at now? It's an 0-for-18 or whatever it is.
So stretching back to that Washington game, or what was it? A Dubé tip?
Dubé scored in the first period of the Washington game. Since then, 5 games, no power play goals. 0-for-15 in the last 5. The skid is now 0-for-18.
The penalty killers against them are 1-for-15 scoring. They allowed Shorty.
True, yeah. Yeah.
So the enemy power play has scored more on the Flames power play. The enemy penalty kill has scored more than the Flames power play in the last 5 games.
And of course, all this stuff matters, but is it the power play that's killing them?
No,
it's
it's everything. But
it's part of the
scenario where
dysfunction.
you could, like, if you get a power play goal last night instead of allowing one, you might have a hockey game. you've been in some close contests where the power play could help you. The Rangers game certainly could go a different way, but really what we're talking about is one of about a half dozen areas of huge concern.
And again, they talked about that second period. They were down 2-0 with 30, 32, 35, 28 minutes to play. You should not, it was not a physical game. It's not like the Blues were running them out of the rink physically. How are they unable? Is 2-0 an insurmountable lead in their own minds right now? How are you taken out of a hockey game against St. Louis in a 2-0 game in the second?
That's the problem. It's who they are. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's not forget, we saw enough of this shit last year. This is not a new trend. Come on. You have a handful of new guys. The core group is the exact same.
And Rhett, making matters even worse, the only guy that flirted with 30 goals is gone, and the guy you got back for him has spent most of the season on the fourth line. Toffoli's 35 goals are going to be missed big time. You knew that. You're hoping Coronado, who is going to be a great finisher, can produce sooner than later, but you're asking for a kid that's playing in Harvard a year ago to come in and play the best league in the world and produce while you're spinning new line mates past him every night. Like, this is, you talked about the second period and how insane it was. Trying to keep track of who was playing with who last night in the final 40 minutes was an absolute circus. Yeah. We saw like Lindholm, Duer, and Hunt. We saw Huberdeau play less than 4 minutes in the second period. We saw all kinds of, like, it was the full blender. And it's Ryan Huska saying, I got a fridge that someone unplugged. I got a bunch of shitty ingredients. I'm throwing them all in. Nothing's going to taste good here. I'm just trying stuff, but it didn't ever feel like they were going to find anything.
You mentioned Huska. And it was because I watched the post game, and Sam Cosentino was on the post game with Sportsnet.
Mm-hmm.
And the remark he made was Ryan Huska. Now, he didn't peel paint or anything, but that's probably as negative towards one of his hockey teams at any level that he can remember. Here is a little bit of a combo plate of Ryan Huska from last night.
I would hope it does. They deserved it. Shouldn't say they, I should say we. Yeah, there was a lack of work ethic. You know, as to why there was a lack of work ethic, that one I have to spend a little time figuring that one out. It's not just Kadri and Huberdeau. I want more from the team. I mean, I'm not going to go with those two. I mean, if you're expecting those two guys to win games for us, that's not going to happen. We'll be waiting for that for a long period of time. The way this team will win games is when they're competitive and they skate and they play hard. If things that are within your control aren't where they should be, then that's on you. Work ethic is something you always control. Attitude and energy are things that you always control. So those are things that guys have to look inside to see if they were there tonight. It's nothing to do with broken. We just sucked tonight. That's it. They're not broken. They just gotta get going.
It's a weird comment on the two big money guys, isn't it?
I read that and I read some people and how they took that when he says those two guys aren't going to be the ones. How I take that is he's meaning it's not only going to be two guys.
Yep.
It's going to take the entire team. I think if you were to ask Huska to elaborate on that, I don't think he was saying, although maybe he'd be right if he was, but to say that those two individuals aren't a caliber of player that can lead us to victory. I think he was talking about it being a team issue.
It also tells you something else too. Like, I think if he's saying it in the comment of like, well, look, it's not McDavid and Draisaitl. You can't just have everyone resting and two guys are going to win us the game. But I think it's also an acknowledgement of what these guys aren't. They aren't star players in this league anymore. And so if you're waiting for two guys to win you the game, you're talking about playing as a team, but you're also noting that these guys can't take over games anymore. And that's fair. As Calgary Flames, can you think of a game? Your sample size is you're 13 months. You're flirting with 90 games to these guys. Can you remember a single game that was taken over by Kadri or Huberdeau?
No.
And you're paying them $17.5 million.
No.
That is also reading between the lines, I think something that everyone has acknowledged. And for Huska to do it, I guess, was a little odd, except that when you think about it, we're all already there.
He was saying that he was using that as an actual deflection from them. I think he was saying his comments were meant to be take the target off of Huberdeau and Kadri, but inadvertently it just recognizes that
Totally.
they aren't good enough. And it kind of is it's amazing how, oh, it's not their fault. So they can't do everything for us. We need the team to go well. And it's like, well, actually, if they're your two best, you do need them to go well. I also found it quite interesting that they hid those guys from the media last night.
I was going to say on a night like last night, where now it's Kadri is -10 and Huberdeau -9. I know some people don't, but they are near the bottom in the National Hockey League for plus minus. Neither one of them came on to talk, nor did the captain. I remember going into that room after some ugly losses, and regardless, Jerome McGinley would step out in front of the media, and he wouldn't be as smiley as he usually was, but he'd come out and he'd answer the questions, and it would just be what you would expect somebody to say. Well, we got to be better. We're going to do this. It would be nothing that was controversial, but he'd answer the call and be there. I was shocked. And I'm not looking to stir it up again, but because I'm with you. No Kadri, no Huberdeau, and the captain didn't talk.
Captain should always talk. That to me is weird. And if you're in the PR for the Calgary Flames, why do you let this become a thing? I understand if Huberdeau and Kadri don't want to talk, they're not the captain. If your job is to do communications, doesn't that inadvertently throw gas on the fire? If you're like, Michael, you should speak tonight. Like that's your job, isn't it? I'm not saying they're doing it wrong. I don't know it better than them, but it feels like a night that if he doesn't speak, that almost draws more attention than if he does.
And, maybe some people don't notice it. We're kind of on that side, so we kind of our alarm goes off a little bit. I
disagree. I think everybody noticed.
Do you?
Especially after again, like you said, you don't have to come out and say anything. Yeah, I'm disappointed. I wasn't good enough. I got to get better. Fuck, that's all of them are saying the same thing. Yeah, we hate to be booed, but we deserve it. Like,
or it's like Michael's not available. He's on a training table, or we don't know. Give us something.
You know what you have to say. Suck it up and go say it.
Like, and you know what it's like too back there, right? If guys are in a pissy mood, and if one of the PR guys comes, could do some post game. If he says no, then he's not doing it.
So
right?
Probably not. I don't know what the rules are anymore. They could probably draw a hard line in the sand and say, no, you have to, but then it just creates more animosity. The issue comes back to so you're now finally in a pissy mood? Because like Pinder said, it's like 90 games in, we're going to decide that, I don't like how this is going. And let's not kid ourselves. Those guys in that room were the guys that we can't play under this mean-spirited old bastard from up north in Viking. He's too hard on us. We need to be able to breathe. We couldn't breathe. Well, you're breathing real fucking good now.
Yeah.
Maybe we should be breathing a little harder. Some hard
not
work.
Breathing enough, to be fair.
Yeah. I was thinking, because a week ago we were talking about the Flames coming off a road trip, or they're on a road trip where it wasn't great. Our next guest must be really thrilled that he's agreed to come on here every week. We go to the Insider Hotline presented by TELUS. Enter to win one of 6 monthly prizes, including tickets to Calgary hockey games and awesome tech like AirPods, Apple Watches, and more. No purchase necessary. All you have to do is fill out a quick survey to enter. Enter for your chance to win at TELUS.com/Flames contest. One of our hockey insiders from TSN, Darren Dreger. Good morning, Dregs.
I love doing the Calgary and the Edmonton podcast this time of year.
Yes. It's chilly out here in Alberta, pal.
Huge game coming up. Everyone's so excited. So excited.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. If you guys are frustrated, and I know you are frustrated, imagine what the brass is thinking in both cities, right? Edmonton, were they overhyped? Yeah, I think they're obviously overhyped, and I'm a part of that nationally. I picked the Oilers to win the Stanley Cup, and here they are less than 10 games in, and they look like anything other than a Stanley Cup contender. And part of that is the old copycat theory, right? They changed their defensive zone coverage in Edmonton because they got beat by the Vegas Golden Knights, who employ that structure, and the Boston Bruins, who have a pretty good history of success, but the players don't seem to want to play it. And why did they implement it in the first place, other than, in Vegas, you could appreciate how many goalies did they go through last year? 7.
Yeah.
So in Edmonton now, it looks abundantly obvious that they don't trust their goaltending, and the Vegas Golden Knights do what they do in winning the Stanley Cup. So that's got to be the best approach. But it's not the best approach, and we continue to see it game in and game out. And yeah, I mean, the heat is up, man. It is up. We're feeling it here in Toronto. It's that wave of hotness coming out of the West.
Yeah.
Which is kind of nice because we talk. I don't know if you've noticed this, Boomer. We talk a lot about the Leafs in Toronto.
Well, you guys? Oh,
yeah. I mean, we talk a lot about the Leafs. So
yeah. Well, I mean, you're right there. What else are you going to do? Who else?
It's kind of nice to be distracted by 41 game suspensions for gambling violations and the toils, the struggles, and all the nonsense going on in Edmonton, Calgary.
Well, you're welcome. That's on us. We got you. And Warner was just talking about it, that there were excuses last year. And I'll just use Jonathan Huberdeau because it felt like that was where the longest list was. High profile trade, big contract about to kick in, new to the city, playing on the wrong wing, the coach doesn't like him, all of that. All of those were kind of gone. He's been on the right side where he wants to play, and he's been here for a year, and the coach is gone, and the mood is supposed to be different, but his play is the same, if not worse. There's no way out of it.
How do you fix it?
How do you fix it?
How do you fix it? He has to fix it. It's not like Craig Conroy's going to wave a magic wand and bring in a bunch of new players. I mean, that's just not feasible when you're in season. But the more this lingers and the heavier the issues get, then maybe there will be some form of change. But it's not like we, expected Jonathan Huberdeau to be as good as he was when he was beside Barkov in Florida. There needed to be an improvement, a vast improvement from last year. But is a point per game too much to ask based on that contract? I would say probably not. So he knows he needs to be better.
I don't see anything like a point per game guy.
I was going to say, usually
he looks like Austin Czarnik up from the AHL.
Honestly,
we don't even decisions. This is
don't even see flashes of a star hockey player.
Didn't know he played.
We just talked about it. They're 90 games in, Kadri and Huberdeau. Like this is their second seasons. We can't recall a single game either of those guys has taken over in the last 13 months.
Right.
And that's $17.5 million.
It's not acceptable.
That's a huge issue.
Let's cut to the chase, though. It ain't happening here.
Yeah.
We can hope and pray and do some dances and try and change things and all this, whatever. It ain't
so what do? You tear it down?
Well,
you just start moving pieces?
And I'm just talking about Huberdeau himself, and it's impossible to move him. Yeah. But the only way he resurrects himself, I don't think it's here. I really, truly don't believe it's here in Calgary. Skinner in Buffalo. Couldn't get rid of him. Too much money. Blah blah. You can go and resurrect yourself, but it ain't happening here. Like I just.
So how did it happen in Buffalo for Skinner, but it won't happen here for?
Well, we've already done the new coach, and we've done all the changes, and we got a guy that was trying. Like Skinner was being played on the fourth line, so he was having. There was no opportunity for him to have success here, right? They had written him off, and then a new guy comes in and goes, "I'm going to give you a chance." Yeah. Well, he's getting a chance. We've gone through 2 coaches already in a year. You can't do another coach. You absolutely can't. And I just think for Huberdeau and for the Flames, as hard as it's going to be to make something happen, that's the only way this plays out. Yeah. Or you're going to ride this negativity for another 2-3 years. And then you maybe change a coach. And the whole, you get lucky that you get a superstar that can play with Huberdeau in a draft. Like Thompson comes up. That's how it changed for Skinner. But you had to ride through a bunch of crap to get there.
And it is a ripple effect when you're in the middle of it too, right? Because, Michael Backlund signs his extension, family reasons, he believes in the team. He wants to stay there. There's reporting of late that Noah Hannafin is engaged in contract discussions. You wonder about Lindholm. Well, I think it's not being overly critical to wonder out loud here. Would those players want to sign long-term? Well, they might have 2 weeks ago.
Sure.
I don't know why they would now. I don't know.
If you're the Flames, Darren, why?
Yeah.
And are you locking up an old mediocre team?
Yeah.
I'll tell you why for Lindholm, because I was going to bring this up in the conversation today anyway. I think, is it 6 Pinder unrestricted free agents on the team?
Yeah, depending if you include Shillington or not.
So
yeah.
let's call it 5 or 6. But anyway, what do free agents typically do in their contract years?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
play like they're
Yeah.
unstoppable typically,
Yeah.
right? Like for a guy like Lindholm, he should be dominating right now, playing as good to hockey as you've ever seen him play. And he's just not. He looks disheartened, just like the rest of them. Something is amiss down at the Dome, and it is nothing to do with the coach or the GM or management or the media or the
group.
city. It's what's in that room.
Well, which
and it's
player
comfort.
last night post game said we lost our will in the first period?
Weegar.
I mean, I didn't come close to playing pro hockey or being a professional athlete. How, at this stage of the regular season, do you lose your will at any point of the game? Let alone
It's 2-0.
they broke us in the first period.
2-0 with half the game remaining against St. Louis, and your will is broken. It's more. It ain't your will.
That's an
that's broken.
indictment, man. That would hurt my feelings if I were a Flames fan.
It's a few straight days of odd commentary coming out of the locker room as far as interviews
Agreed.
and stuff.
Lots of
So,
Zadorov
agreed.
stuff too, where he's been critical. Other guys sort of saying, "Well, I interpret it differently." Coleman says he's sick of losing. Like this is a long road here, Dreger. If they look anything like this the rest of the way, I don't know how you do anything but blow this thing up. Like, how could you extend anyone right now? Are you kidding
No, I
me?
hear you, and that was the point I was making. But how do you blow it up? Because guess what's happening here? If this continues on. Conroy and company can't do more to the front office, I don't think, than what they've already done. Ownership isn't going to pay another coach not to coach the Calgary Flames.
Yeah.
This isn't, a management issue. I mean, Conroy inherited essentially what he has. And you know what other NHL general managers are doing now when they're watching the Calgary Flames? They're not looking at Huberdeau. I think Kadri would have a market to some degree. It's a big ticket though. I'm kind of stopping in my tracks.
You got to eat some of the contract.
But guys are looking for your young players, your prospects and all of that. So unless you find a fit where there's another player or players on other teams that are equally struggling, and you're just looking for a change of address, which Rhett, tell me, does that work? It doesn't often work, right? Where you take back a struggling guy and a bad contract, and you give a struggling guy and a bad contract. Normally, what happens is you end up with
it's happened
a struggling
here.
guy with a bad
Lucic and Neal.
contract.
Lucic and Neal's the one here for sure.
But I mean, what are we talking about? I mean, Lucic was overpaid. Neal was overpaid for that point in their careers, and they weren't impactful. Lucic kind of played better when he got to Calgary, but he still wasn't the Lucic, and he was never going to be. So we knew that when he signed the contract. So I mean, maybe that was a net gain for the Flames in that situation. But yeah, it's not going to be an impactful turn of events for the franchise, and all of a sudden they're going to launch it off into promised land again.
No, I would think you sell all these UFAs, you collect high picks, you accumulate assets, and sort of this notion like, they've got too much talent to bottom out. Like, no, they haven't even sold anyone yet, and they look like they're bottoming out. Like they're right there with Anaheim right now. If you can nail together a couple top 5 picks here, why not?
Yeah, but you're not doing that now.
No. What do you mean? Like, you don't think they could be bad enough to finish in the bottom 5-10 here?
Well, maybe. I mean, obviously, if they continue to stumble and bumble the way they are now. But we're looking at closer to the trade deadline, right?
Sure. I see what you're saying.
You're not getting anything of value coming back based on the way these guys are playing in the first 10 or fewer games. So,
it's what's crazy. It's still October.
Yeah.
Like it's October, men, and it feels like it's the dog days of winter. Where how are we ever going to get out of this?
I haven't checked yet. What was the attendance like?
I've got it right here. If I can,
because that's coming next, right?
It already is.
Yeah, I was just in Winnipeg talking to Mark Chipman, one of the owners of the Winnipeg
16,897. So a hair on
and there was not 16. There.
No, but that's paid for, and that's how you always do attendance. 19,289 is capacity, so they're missing over 2,000 people. That's considerable.
But what's the season ticket base in Calgary? I think it's still pretty strong, isn't it?
I think
that's not a number that we hear publicly, but I would think it's strong.
But I mean, that's normally what happens, and that's the only thing a fan can do.
You know what, Dregs?
I get on social media.
Yeah.
What else are they going to do? They're just not going to show up. That's what's going to happen.
We can pivot away, I guess, and then come back. But I did want to ask you about that because you had that sit down with Mark Chipman, and I don't know that I've seen anything quite like that, where it's a one-on-one with the owner of the team, and the owner is he's clearly upset and emotional about when the team left in the first place and bringing it back, and now for the Jets to be in the spot that they're in. Having had that sit down with him, what's your appreciation, or how would you characterize what's going on there?
Well, he's wearing it, right? And that's an honest observation and it's a legit one, because that's what I felt and saw, and it resonated in the piece that we did. They look back now to when they first launched, and I think they recognized they made some mistakes. I mean, there was such an injection of enthusiasm in that market. We're getting our team back in the National Hockey League. And so they sold a big number of season tickets to individual seat holders and not to corporate Canada. And now they recognize that was a bit of a blunder, because corporate Canada is sitting there and going, I don't know. Do we really want to buy in at this stage? And the landscape of the corporate sector has shifted as well. And then on top of that, if we go back to Edmonton for a moment, and when things are good in Edmonton, you guys have been in that building, excuse me, it rocks. They get going in that building, around the facility. It's a party atmosphere a couple of hours prior to the game. And Mark Chipman just wants that so bad. And it's crickets outside the building in Winnipeg leading up to the game. It's ghost town central. So the team is playing well. He's hopeful that the fans will respond.
If I may, Dean, just jump in on that.
Go ahead.
Is Winnipeg a cautionary tale? Because I see similarities. Both teams, Calgary and Winnipeg, had, no one wants to be here. These guys are a year away from free agency. You're going to trade these guys. You don't want to be here. Yeah. They do pay to keep Scheifele and keep Hellebuck, which caught people by surprise. And yet you don't see that response in the market yet. Now, maybe they're good. If they get into the playoffs, we know they're going to fill that place. It'll be chaos. But I sort of think of the Flames like, if ownership is worried about we have to try to be competitive because the fans show up when it's competitive, I think this market would be way more receptive to a rebuild than I think the ownership thinks. And I also think what fans really don't want to see is more mediocrity and pretending that this team is good. And so locking in guys like Winnipeg did it doesn't necessarily correlate to bottom line success.
It doesn't. In Winnipeg's case, they didn't feel like they had a choice. And I'd be curious if the same thing, kind of drifts over to the Flames organization as well. Because as Chipman talked about in the sit-down interview, he did a lot of research on what it takes, what it costs, and how you have to embrace a traditional rebuild. And in certain cases, it's not a 3-year turnaround, a 5-year turnaround. It can be 7+ years if you're patient and do it the right way. Well, good luck selling that to a Canadian fan base. And when you're paying everything in US dollars, like, again, if we focus on Winnipeg, smallest venue in the NHL. Well, next to Arizona. Well,
smallest market for sure, right?
Smallest market, but they have their player costs are the same as the top teams in the NHL. And by player costs, I'm not just talking about salaries. Try and feed these guys 4 or 5 times a day, and 2 teams, not just one team, because your American League team is there as well. So I'm not making excuses for the Winnipeg Jets, but or the Calgary if they decide to go down that path of rebuild. But Canadian clubs are really apprehensive in talking about rebuild or even a renovation, because it is a costly venture. So you try and fix on the fly, and that's what Winnipeg did in extending their 2 stars.
And I guess the only places they've really done it, excuse me, have been Montreal, Toronto, where those fan bases are so healthy. Like there's a 100-year wait list for the Leafs. Like, you can do whatever you want. They're still paying.
First picks overall too, though, right? And,
of course, that helps.
You land Austin Matthews. Let's see what they have in Juraj Slafkovsky in Montreal. But the draft can turn things around. I mean, Chicago was ghost town as well prior to winning the Bedard sweepstakes, and now their season tickets and their ticket prices have at least doubled. So you have to be extraordinarily fortunate for that.
And here it's tough because, in a way, the fans are already absorbing that pain that would accompany a rebuild, except they aren't.
There's no hope.
There's
no rebuilding.
Yeah, they're not rebuilding. There's not like there's 2 or 3 burgeoning stars who you're waiting to give the reins of the team over to.
No.
There really isn't. And we've talked about it for a long time. It just feels like this team has needed to make a major shift, and ownership has been unwilling. I guess if there's no other choice than when the team is almost historically bad or just is so bad that you're bottom 3, bottom 5 in the league. What more of more loud can the message be?
Yeah, no, you're right. But we're in the dark days here, the early goings of the regular season. And Boomers, you talked about it's October.
Yeah.
But enough is enough. And stop talking about it. Stop dropping F-bombs and all of that nonsense to the media and just find a way to play better, right?
Yeah.
You know, individually, it's the old cliche that we're all very familiar with. If each guy does his job, then collectively, shouldn't that be enough to play better and maybe win a game here or there, be better in front of your goalie? And it feels like that's what both Edmonton and Calgary are going to have to embrace individually inside the dressing room.
Somebody's going to win Sunday. That's great news, hey?
Yeah. I do want to talk about Edmonton. But yeah, if the Flames could just get on the same page, because there were games last year where they were actually okay, but their goalie let them down. I know their goalie is by far their best player, and now they can't score to save their life. What about in Edmonton? They also lose. It's an identical 3-0 score. They're in a 4-game skid. Yes, they're going to play on Sunday, but it is different there. This was a non-playoff team in Calgary, and there's hope of being better, but I don't know how realistic the hope was. In Edmonton, like you said, a lot of people were picking this team to win it all. I guess there's always, when you have a superstar, is there always kind of that waiting? He's going to pull us out of this. Well, when he comes back, we'll be good. I wonder, is that any part of what we're seeing there?
Yeah, it is. But the truth is, before Connor got hurt, you know, we saw all kinds of concern, including his play and others. Top to bottom, the Edmonton Oilers weren't good enough. I mean, the good news is it's a short-term injury. I think, you know, Woodcroft was playing us in the media a little bit, you know, wondering about him coming back sooner than later. I'd be shocked if he was in the Heritage Classic, but I don't think he'll miss much after that. But they again collectively need to find a way. I didn't believe that Connor Brown was going to be a tipping point difference maker, but I thought that it was a worthwhile signing. You have the history with Connor McDavid. He's coming off that serious knee injury. I'm a fan of Connor Brown. I know him. I liked him in Toronto. I liked him in Ottawa. You know, things went sideways with him in Washington, primarily because of injury. But I honestly thought a healthy Connor Brown, whether he's playing on that top line or somewhere in that top 9, you know, he'd find a way because he brings so many unique tools to the game. Man, he hasn't pissed a drop yet. And
what's trouble, Darren? With that bonus next year?
It's weighing on him. There's no doubt about that. He's a high character individual. But again, I'm wondering, you know, why is it plaguing all of these guys? Not just the top dudes on that team, but, you know, if we don't believe that Connor Brown is as motivated as any player in the league, then we don't know Connor Brown at all. So why is it, you know, he's probably never going to be the driver on the line, but he can find a way to distribute the puck, win the puck battles, and do all of it, unless he still has the lingering effects of, you know, a brutal knee injury. So I don't know, but it just seems like anything that could go wrong in Edmonton has to this point.
So just to follow up on that, for clarity for people, they bring in Connor Brown at very low money, and they give him a huge bonus for 10 games played. It's 3.25, and bonus overages you're allowed to do, but they affect next year's cap.
Correct.
So if Connor Brown plays a 10th game this season, basically almost all of the growth in the cap will go to him in the form of a bonus next year.
Yeah.
Do they think about sending him down to the A and not using him the rest of this year if he's not looking good after 9?
I'm going to say a hard no to that. And for a couple of reasons. I don't think, even though, look, I understand the question from a business perspective. I don't think you do that to a player like Connor Brown or do that to a player who has the experience that he has. And then there is a deep-rooted relationship with McDavid. There really is. And not that Connor McDavid runs the Edmonton Oilers. Of course he doesn't. But he has a strong and valued opinion. And if you bury his best buddy, oh boy, that could get real tricky. That might be a bigger animal than you want to wrestle with, no matter who you are in that organization.
So what if he's a $1 million player? And that's fine. Is it the right thing to do with your hockey club with the cap as tight as it is to give him a $3.25 million bonus overage affecting next year? Like, because next year's the last year of Leon on that low deal, right? That's the last year of these two guys on the same deal.
But you know how managers look at next year? They look at next year as next year, and they look at it as being months and months away. And look, not to go back to the Shane Pinto thing here in Ottawa, but that pissed a few people off around the National Hockey League because Ottawa has cap issues, and by suspending Pinto the way that they did, he doesn't have a contract, so there's no cap hit. And what it does is it pushes the opportunity for Pierre Dorion, the general manager of the Sens, to find the necessary cap relief before the end of January when Pinto is able to sign and jump back into the National Hockey League. So there's a reprieve there. I don't think that Kenny Holland is looking that far down the road. And maybe it's not Kenny Holland. Maybe he just says
last year of his deal, right?
He's last year of his deal. He doesn't want to talk about whether or not he's willing to extend. I can guarantee you, if you asked him today and he was on record, he'd say, no, I'm good. I'm good. You want me to be an advisor? Yeah, maybe I'll be an advisor, but I've been there and I've done that and I can't do any more. So.
And with that, because I was going to ask, I'm not necessarily looking to stir up shit, but I just wonder about Woodcroft. I think he's a fine coach. I think he's.
Oh, he's on the hot seat, Boomer. Is that what you're going to ask?
I was just. Well, yeah, it's when it's that hot. I just wonder. It feels like it's not going to be Kenny Holland because there again, what do you accomplish? The cap is what it is, and they're in the spot they're in. Yeah. At some point, if things continue in a downward trend, someone's head is on a pipe or whatever you want to call it. I just wonder whose head that is.
Yeah, and look, I'm not coming on the show here today to say he's definitely in the crosshairs because I don't know that to be true. Is he potentially vulnerable? I think he has to be, right? Mm-hmm. He initiated the defensive structure change. It's supported by the coaching staff. They've tried to work on it in practice. It's been a colossal failure. And if he's unwilling to change that, I'm sure being encouraged by management, then maybe he does approach that hot seat. But it not that the look matters from a GM perspective is making those calls. That is a very emotional owner, Daryl Cates in Edmonton.
Yeah.
Very emotional dude. I guarantee you, if his finger isn't on that panic button, it's hovering right over it. And senior management is getting all of that on an hour by hour basis. So could Jay Woodcroft be in jeopardy? Of course he could. And I know I'm not firmly answering that question, but how many coaches now have McDavid and Draisaitl had? Are we not going back to the Ken Hitchcock days? I mean, that might be an exaggeration, but they've gone through a few. So, and I'm not blaming the stars of the Edmonton Oilers. I just think collectively the GM will want to put it on the players first. And if he sees a response from the players or he doesn't see a response from the players, then you have no choice. You're running $1 billion business. You got to make those tough calls.
I am fascinated by this game on Sunday. It's both teams. If you took the players and put the post game comments up, and you didn't put name bars or the chyron on the screen, which team does this guy play for, Calgary or Edmonton? If you didn't know the game, you could be either one because we got to work harder, and this is unacceptable, and we're not having fun. Like the whole thing. Yeah, someone's losing that hockey game.
Okay, so if Rhett was still playing in the National Hockey League.
And it's close.
I know he's not that far removed. You know what he could do? He could give you potential access to his account, and maybe you could place. Oh no, you can't bet on the NHL.
No, you can't do it, Dregs.
Can he bet on baseball? That's the thing that confuses me, Dregs.
Is it too soon for that kind of stuff?
No, but why can't he bet on baseball? Like, what the hell?
He can bet on baseball.
Did we not hear that it wasn't a hockey bet that got him in trouble, or is that wrong? What's your reporting there?
Second. What they said was he did not bet on NHL games. Shane Pinto did not bet on NHL games.
Okay, so
somebody's account might have.
No, it was there's a theory out there that he may have shared his account access, and this individual may have placed a bet that he shouldn't have placed.
Right. Why don't they come out and just be honest? Because seriously, the whole sports, hockey world is doing this tap dance, right? Like, just tell the truth, and then everyone moves on. It's a busy world out there.
Well,
Well,
now we
and
know what
look,
the rules of engagement are, at least, right? Like the NFL finally gave us some clarity on this with Calvin Ridley, but they didn't even have a time he was going to come back. You're just indefinitely suspended.
Yeah.
And then he can reapply. Finally, they've said, okay, here are the rules, and here's how the punishment's being doled out. It feels like this is a big black box. You have no idea what's going to happen.
Well, and then look, Marty Walsh from the Players Association. I mean, the gambling situations have been on the agenda for the fall tour right from the onset. I think he's got 26, 25 teams that he's got to visit with. I can assure you of this. Everything that is in, that code of restrictions specific to gambling will be outlined for these guys. If Darren Dreger wants to give Dean his access information, you got to know that, my account is specific to my IP address. So when I give access to somebody else and they place a bet on my account, it's a different IP address. And guess what happens? The gambling site, the partner goes, boop, boop, boop. That's no good. And then they realize, okay, this guy's a pro athlete. That's no good. And then the league finds out. But I'm with you. Like, why there's non-disclosure from the league, from the Players Association, from the player, it doesn't make any sense to me because, we're all assuming that Shane Pinto is egregiously in the wrong here because he's been suspended for 41 games.
Yeah, it's huge.
But I'm telling you, it's not for betting on any other sport, other than we know that he did not specifically bet on NHL games. So
okay, so that helps with the explanation there. Thank you.
Kind of. That's my theory on it. Anyway.
I liked your boop 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 there. We're sounding the alarms out here in Alberta. We'll just get that.
Can you use that
sound bite?
Who's the guy from Police Academy? That's great stuff.
That was brutal.
Yeah, that was good. Before we let you go, is there anything else? You're always kind of getting the pulse around the league. We're very focused on ourselves here, very selfish. What else is making news league wide? Anything going on?
No, you know what? It's still relatively quiet. I mean, the undefeated are starting to lose now, right? So imagine that. You're not going to go 82-0. Pretty quiet, I would say, on the trade front. Yeah, I mean, there's teams that are restless, and the Alberta teams are restless and all that, but nothing that appears imminent. So we're kind of stumbling along here, hoping that you get to that place where we start to see some player movement, but not there yet.
Appreciate you as always, buddy. We'll talk to you next week. Have a fine weekend until then.
Those sunglasses are beautiful, man.
I make them look good. Thanks, Dregs.
Take care, guys.
Talk to you next week. Brought to you by TELUS, our insider hotline at TELUS. They're using their world-leading technology to drive meaningful change, from transforming healthcare and making the food supply more sustainable to reducing our environmental footprint and connecting Canadians in need. Last year, TELUS, their team members, and retirees volunteered 1.4 million hours and gave $125 million to local communities. The most giving company in the world, making the future friendly. Learn more at TELUS.com/givesback. Yeah. The Leafs win last night. Both Alberta teams lose. I had said if you were to have post-game comments, we actually do have some post-game comments.
Is that right?
Out of Edmonton, which again, if you didn't know, you think, oh, guy must play for the Flames. The New York Rangers, who beat the Flames 2 nights ago, or now 3 nights ago, I suppose. They went to Edmonton last night. They beat the Oilers by a score of 3-0. This is Darnell Nurse of the Oilers post game.
Yeah, we got to be better, like to a man. That's as simple as that. That's the dialogue. Everyone knows. It's easy to point fingers and whatnot. I mean, we got everyone just look in the mirror at this point and be a whole lot fucking better.
F-bomb.
Yeah, we got to cut those out.
Yeah, Rhett doesn't want to,
Boop, boop, boop. We'll put some beeps in there. I honestly, because at the best of times, when it's hockey night in Canada, Saturday night, these two teams play. The team that loses, their management is sour, their ownership is sour.
Yep.
The PR staff are sour. Everyone, they hate inside those buildings. That's the one thing I don't know if people appreciate, because the fans we lost to whatever. They hate it downstairs.
Oh, it's Sowersville. Guys won't sleep last night if it's Calgary Edmonton loss.
And then if it's ramped up at least a notch or two with the extra focus on the game. It's the outdoor game, and now both teams are struggling.
For us as fans, it's probably good for entertainment. For the organizations, is this an unnecessary?
The game?
The outdoor game. The fact that, do you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of hoopla that goes along with this. It's harder to prepare for this. You got to do shit differently. Maybe it's a good thing. You don't know. But,
you're going to be distracted to a certain degree. Exactly. You got family and tickets, and we're getting the kids out the day before, and we're going to skate in the rink and take pictures. It will take your mind away from the task at hand.
Maybe a good thing, though.
Maybe good or bad. Yeah.
There's also just the media circus that comes with these things, and it's supposed to be one of those things that you can enjoy. I think it's tough to do any of that stuff when you're hearing the comments coming out of the locker room from these guys, and you see the frustration throughout the entire organizations. Like, do you really want to do extra media ahead of Sunday to talk about two of the worst starts in the NHL this season? Like, I just feel like, oof, someone's going to be feeling really pleased that they got a win. And if it's the Flames, they don't play again until Wednesday. Like, if you have to sit 2-3 days out of this thing thinking about another loss, oh man.
Yeah. And they got a couple days to stew on the ones from last night too.
It's 2 games over 6 days. You consider they play last night and not again until after the outdoor game until Dallas on Wednesday. Like, that's.
I have a question for Coach Rhett in a moment.
Oh,
Coach Rhett, who's the head coach of the Calgary Flames. Can ask the coach.
Not the Junior Sabres.
No. Century Downs Casino Thoroughbred racing season coming to a conclusion. This is the final weekend to go and check out live thoroughbred horse racing Saturday and Sunday, 12:45 post time at Century Downs. Admission is free. All ages are welcome. We've said this before. If you've never taken your young kids, your lad, your little girl, whatever, go have a daddy-daughter day. Teach them how to, it's a trifecta, sweetheart. Watch, wager, eat,
horses,
and drink with your friends. Entertainment you won't find anywhere else. We had a ball the day we went out there. People showed up. We had a heck of a good time, and you would too. Final weekend of the thoroughbred racing season down at Century Downs Racetrack and Casino with Alberta Horse Racing.
My one little guy was learning a little too quickly.
He really picked up on it.
Box these two, and this guy finished 15th his last race. Get him off our card.
Dad, doesn't that make it an exactor? Oh,
I'm not sure, son. Let me get back to you on that.
Yeah, I think you might be right, son. Coach Warner, your team lost last night by a score of 3-0. We were told that they broke your spirit. And we've heard rumblings coming out of the room about work ethic and try and individual play. What do you do when you come into the rink today? What is your day with your team today? Are you talking? Are you bag skating? It's a practice. Are we just doing video? Do we act like nothing happened? Do we really sink into what happened?
And Tuesday was an off day too. Keep in mind, they lose to the Rangers, then the off day. You lose. Now it's your first real day at the rink you're not playing after that road trip.
Well, and this is where the issue becomes, I said it last week. I said, what does Huska do when he knows that the coach that got fired was a hard ass and they didn't respond to it? Because my first thoughts would be they should have been there at 6:30 this morning. We're going to do a bag skate at 6:30. You guys we'll get you some breakfast. We're going to do some video for a while. And then we're going to do another practice. And then the next day is the same thing. Well, I guess you got Edmonton, so maybe you can't. But that's what I would have done. That would be my without considering Sutter got fired and all this other BS. That's what I would do.
Because I feel like
totally fair, given that Saturday.
And I would let them know that
right?
Until you can figure out how to play this, let your families know. This is what the Calgary Flames. This is how practice days are going to look for the weeks to come till we get this shit sorted out.
And again, we do this every day, so it's easy for us to get overly dramatic with it. But I feel like this is one of the early tests of Ryan Huska. The players have to be wondering, I wonder what's going to happen today, because we weren't good last night and we've lost 4 in a row and we got booed off of the ice. I would be curious, even as a player, to know what my coach's mood and strategy and approach to this day would be.
Yeah, and I wonder about that. Oh, you can't be hard. I think you absolutely can be hard. You just have to be fair. Like, what people didn't like about Daryl was that he'd be mean, and it's like he'd make it personal. Ryan Huska isn't that, but you can still be really hard on guys and say, here's the standard we hold. I think, like, talking with Huska, I think that's how he would operate.
And remember, we talked to him when he was there in studio, and he said the one currency that a coach has is ice time. And it was interesting that for the first half, 14 minutes of that second period, Huberdeau played 2 shifts, and then they put him on the power play. But 5-on-5, he was on the bench, and shocking to no one.
Less than 4 minutes in the second period. So
You
if
can
you
sit
sort
him
of
in the rafters,
prorate that, that's
then what?
10, 11 minutes. That's fourth line minutes you got.
You can sit him in the rafters.
Sure.
You're not going to get an argument from me on that or being hard.
What would you be missing at this point?
You're not missing anything. The only thing that you're missing is the fact that you can't get rid of the guy, and he can be a sour prick in the dressing room and make it real shitty in there. And then what? You ask him to stay home?
If you had
that's what I said yesterday.
and Ruzicka was healthier, it'd be easier. But like, you're already playing AJ Greer and Hunt. Like, it's
just take that part out of it. Like the literal part of it. What do you do? Because you said it to Dregs. I don't think it turns around here.
I don't.
It maybe gets a little bit better for Huberdeau, but it's not going to be any kind of a success.
He's not a good enough skater, and he's too old where if you think you're going to have the Skinner scenario where 3 years from now he's going to find his way, that's when the physical decline is really going to start to take hold.
Yeah.
So even if he gets a better opportunity and gets free of, maybe he is hard on himself. I'm not trying to hate on the guy as a person. I'm just saying it ain't working, and it's not going to. And I said, I've alluded to it for 15 months, 16 months.
You have tap danced around it long enough. Right?
I said this all along, that this was going to be an issue and it had the potential to be a huge issue. Oh, we can't trade him okay, you signed him. And I said last year, trade him now, because you might still get something. A team might say, you know what? It was one down year. He didn't like it in Calgary with Sutter. Let's get him on the cheap. Who is trading for him now?
Nobody. And to be fair, I didn't think so last year either, just because it was like, you want to see some of that value restored before you make that bet if you're another GM. The same reason Skinner didn't move and now that he's good again, okay, well, we'd look at that. Who's putting their nuts on, like, if you're another GM in the league, right? Like, let's say you're the Islanders.
You can go back on
GM.
our discussions. I said we should trade for Skinner 3 years ago. And I said you should trade for him because you could get him at half cost. And at $4.5 million, he'd be a good player. And
that's fair. But again, if you're a GM of the New York Islanders last year, another team or whatever it is, like, are you really taking on 8 years of Jonathan Huberdeau when he looks as bad as he's ever looked?
If it's
I understand the salary would be significantly reduced. The most you can need is half. So let's even say he's a $5 million player. Which GM is saying, that's my stamp? We're right up against the cap. I'm going to make room for this.
I don't know, but you're trying to give me shit for the contract. I'm just
not giving you any
shit. I'd move heaven and earth.
I'm just trying to have a conversation with it.
Is there any?
It would have been nice to trade him, of course. I just was skeptical you could. That's all.
Like, that's the thing. It's term, and how much money are you going?
It was less than a year before that we signed him, and it was a great signing. And within 6 months, it's turned into an unmovable contract. It still doesn't make sense to me, Ryan, your take on that.
I agree that it's a bad signing. I never liked the structure of that contract and the money. I understood why the Flames did it. And I always said the Weegar deal is not going to be a problem. And I don't think it is going to be a problem. That's a guy that's worth that much. Huberdeau doesn't look half of his value. And look, this is all hindsight 2020 last year's stuff. And you were right to be skeptical in hindsight about inking guys right away. In other instances, it's worked brilliantly. Hampus Lindholm was a great Bruin. He signed moments after arriving in trade, and he's on a top pair with Charlie McAvoy, and they had the best regular season ever last year. It didn't work here, and we didn't know a ton about this guy, but like, he's soft. He's bad defensively. I think he's going to be way into his head more than he's ever been in his life, and it's not going to get better for him here. Milan Lucic, there were some quotes from him they talked about on our sister spot, Oilers Nation. We talked about this in the post game last night. Milan talked about how toxic it got in Edmonton, and he was angry all the time. And he was angry at the weather. He was angry at traffic. He was angry at the city of Edmonton. He was angry at everything. And when he realized, looking back, is he was mad at himself because he'd placed a lot of pressure on himself as a free agent with that huge contract to perform, and it wasn't happening. And that's why when he got to Calgary, he looked like a functional fourth liner where he didn't in Edmonton, because it finally was like, he had a fresh start. I don't know how you do that for Huberdeau here, and I would be stunned if he is in a similar or worse spot mentally than Lucic was at some point here.
Because the question, looking at what he is, how much are you going to pay? If he was a free agent right now, what's the going rate? Like $2 million a year, 1.5? Like I don't even know. PTO, right? It's been such a
Wouldn't
disaster.
that be considered
But
the overreaction spot, though?
Yeah. So here's my question. And Pinder, you dig into the cap stuff. How much money can the Flames eat?
Half. That's it.
Right? But I mean, are you going to really eat $5 million?
I still don't think anyone would boo it. You could, but
so here's what I'm
if you could do it.
Here's what I'm saying. Is there any chance that Florida would do a redo on him? He and Barkov were close. They were buddies. After he left, Barkov, his play wasn't quite the same. Is there any thought of going back to Florida and just saying, listen, the past is the past. We've made that deal.
God, no. If I'm Florida, I just went to the final without this guy. You could never get through the second round with this guy.
Oh, I would think you're being cheeky.
No. I think there's a reason why for Matthew Tkachuk, you got the second highest leading scorer in the league and a first. And
you should be able to do this fairly easily. How many points did Huberdeau have last year?
Like 50 some.
Okay, so he's going to be a 60-point guy. So are we good saying he's a 60-point guy? I mean, the last few games haven't said that, but last year was 55. We think what's
worst
a 55
case scenario kind of thing?
What's a 55-point player?
He could be worse than last year. I don't think that's hard.
Not if he's leaving, and if you're bringing him into your fold.
If you're going to Florida, you're saying
anywhere. Okay. He's saying Florida. Sure, I like the idea of Florida. Go back to Florida. You were happy in Florida. You got a buddy there, Barkov. If the reason Florida won last year was because they could the goalie's name, Bobrovsky stood on his head, and that was awesome. That was awesome. But you couldn't score with anyone else, and if he's giving you 55 to 60, and you're thinking that's what I'm buying, but I actually think he's going to be a 80-point guy. Like the guys
think there's potential for him to get anything close to where he was. Okay, not 150, not 118. What if you flirt with a point per game? If I can have a point per game winger
for $5 million,
I don't think he's a point per game. I think he's 60.
I'm saying if in Florida, if the floor is 60, and maybe power play, he's happy. It has worked here, unless there's something behind the scenes that you don't know. I just think it's an unmovable deal.
Yeah, I agree.
Unless there's maybe some way to make that work.
So I just would say if you're a GM and you've got data departments and you've got video and you've got pro scouts and you've watched him play, what have you seen in the last 90 games that leads you to believe there's any sort of elite or rare skill there?
If you have to be doing it on the belief
something that happened 2 years ago
that you do not look at any Calgary data.
Yeah.
What you're saying is not what I'm just go with it. Just don't be stubborn. Because of course you're not buying what you're buying here. You would be taking a leap of faith that there's something left, that this is a toxic situation for him, that anything that's happened in Calgary, that data, throw it out the window. What is he? It's his age. He has done this in the past. Is there a fit here? Does he mix in our room? And if we can get him for $5 million, is that something that makes us better? That's all I'm saying.
I see the case you're building. My belief, and I'm not a GM, I will never be a GM. My belief is there's not a single NHL team that would make that bet, because term is what always kills you more than the number. And if you're selling the high end, what's the worst case scenario for a team here, even if it is $5 million? You got Austin Czarnik for 7.9 years. Making 5+.
Well, yeah,
you have to weigh the ceiling with the floor, and I don't think we've seen the floor yet. He's only getting older every year.
What is true? I guess what is his floor?
Well, I mean, Jesus, he did that. What 29?
I don't disagree with you,
What's
and that's what I said.
35.
I don't disagree, and that's what I've said all along. But your tune has changed. You weren't saying that before.
So okay, we're going back to my tune last year on that. I understood why the Flames signed, but I don't like the deal.
A month ago. Flames are going to be better. Huberdeau's going to be better.
Should be. Yeah,
so
that was
8 games in. You've decided that he can't be, even if he leaves the place where he hasn't had success. Again, I don't need to argue it. I've
I'm just
said I don't
going by
think
what I'm
it's going to work
seeing.
here. I just wonder if some other team wouldn't say maybe.
Yeah, you're right to wonder. My belief is no, but you can absolutely think that there might be 4 or 5 GMs that would. And again, like 3 weeks ago, we thought the Oilers were going to win the cup, and like the guessing in the summer. The guessing in the summer is nowhere as valuable as what we were watching happen in the league and what we're seeing on the ice. And on the ice, I've been more disappointed with 10 and 91 than any 2 other Flames by a significant gap.
No one will argue that with you. No, you can't. For even limited expectation for both Kadri and Huberdeau, they are so far below even that, guarded optimism. It's just, I don't know. I don't know what because I'm with you, Rant. He's not going to do it here. It's not going to happen.
He's not going to do it anywhere anymore, boys. This is a nightmare. And we haven't heard from Alan Walsh in a while, by the way.
And I have far more confidence in the Oilers. I mean, this is a thing.
Yes,
right?
Of course.
This is what happens with some teams that are very good. Either they get bounced in round 1 and then everybody, I fire the code, that whole thing. Or you go through a stretch like this without their best player. I think that they're going to find, I don't know that that's a cup team, but still, I don't get any sense that there's going to be a stretch of 10 games where teams are going to be, okay, Calgary's coming in. This is a good team. We got to be ready for Calgary. I see nothing.
No,
it looks as much of a flat line as I've seen in a long time. I go back to those days when you had Alex Tanguay and Bouwmeester and Owen Nolan, all those old guys, and the give a shit meter was barely coming off the 0. And you were ready to hand things off to the kids. And that's what's tough here is you don't have Gaudreau, Monahan, Bennett, whatever, a cast of young guys that you feel are waiting to come through.
You would be, but you're right. There's no one that you love or you think that's going to be a superstar. Yeah. Your team would be infinitely better if you could bring up 3 or 4 more kids out of Stockton. The Wranglers. Right. I mean, plays are because you watched last night. At least the guys that had some heart, you noticed.
And they were all the maybe you stumbled across a third pair D-man in a 7th rounder in 2020 and solo. That's a nice little find. Those aren't the guys you worry about. It's the guys that have built their retirement homes that you're worried about. And again, I just keep thinking like they absolutely can bottom out here. Why wouldn't you be, if this is where you are at US Thanksgiving, thinking about having a top 5 pick and who knows what can happen in the draft lottery? Maybe you get some of that Edmonton blow on the dice luck and you win 4 lotteries, or geez, if you won 1, they've never picked higher than 4th overall in this franchise. Well, they did it once.
I saw somebody online and you could probably find it quickly. Their percentage of the playoffs. I believe it did with the loss last night. They have the Flames at best case 50%.
Oh, that seems way too high. Yeah, that's not right.
And I was going to say I'd take 50 if I were them.
Yeah, and again, we talked about it in the summer. Like, everyone in this market's negative. Why are the gaming books so bullish on the Flames? There were one point this August, it was minus 200 for the Flames to make the playoffs. You had to bet $200 to win 100 for them to miss, or to make. Excuse me. So they were favored heavily to make the playoffs. I think there are a lot of talented players here, but goodness, if Huberdeau isn't what he's been his whole career, and Kadri doesn't look anything like the guy he was when he won a cup 2 years ago, who do you have? Like, nobody on this roster today scored 25 goals in the NHL last year. Not one guy. Toffoli had like 35. Lindholm had 24 or 22. Kadri had 24. Like, who is talented on this team that could crack a top line or a top pair or on a cup contender here?
Yeah.
Where is your talent? And in a couple of years, you'll probably have Pelche, Coronado, Honzek, Wolf, maybe a Zeri, but you need another 1 or 2 or 3 high-end, elite game-breaking talent guys. And the only way you get them is high in the draft. That's the only place you get those guys.
And I don't think that those guys that you named are even those super-duper high-end.
They're secondary parts, and there can be nice complementary pieces, but none of them are franchise players. You need to go get a franchise player, and there's one place to go franchise player shopping: the draft. You need high picks. You need to bottom out to get good again. And that's what seems to be baffling for this fan base with the owner, because it's clear that's where the stars are, the top 5 picks of the draft.
If only they had that other first rounder, Florida's first rounder.
Well, if you've looked at the conditions there, if it's a top 10 pick for Calgary, they keep it. They give Florida's first rounder to Montreal. But there's a thousand other permutations because if Florida
I'm just saying it's nice to have a couple.
For sure it would. Yeah, no question. No question. I mean, that's the whole thing with extending these guys. You need as many first round picks as you can possibly find. Don't collect 30-year-olds. I don't care how good they are. Go get as many high picks as you can find in the next 3 years.
Yeah, if you're taking 30-year-olds, it's only to bring in salary so the other team can make the deal work.
Please, yeah. So instead of paying Noah Hannafin $7 million, eat someone else's bad $7 million player and get 2 seconds with them.
7 games in? 8 games? What are we?
9.
9?
8.
What's the what is their record?
They have 2 wins. 2 wins in 8 games. And a loser point in the game that they blew with a lead late.
Let's do the Pinder Report, shall we?
That's been enough for me.
The Pinder Report is brought to you by Village Honda. New in-stock inventory arriving every single week. You slide through the lot up at Village Honda. New stuff all the time. Start your automotive adventures at Village Honda. New vehicle pricing is MSRP. Mostly sticky. Ryan Pinder is what that comes down to. Village Honda presents the Pinder Report.
MSRP, I've been doing some homework. Maybe shower, Ryan Pinder. That's what
yeah. Also works.
Let's start Afterburner last night. Boy, we had some big numbers. People were hate watching the program, Dean. Nothing like a shitting your pants on the ice to really bring in the eyeballs for Afterburner. Here's Rhett and I from last night. Rhett, thanks for staying up late.
I'm positive that the fans and the true faithful bleed red Calgary Flames fans, if you put out some kids that went and worked their ass off, they'd be just as happy. Maybe happier, right?
Yeah,
maybe more supportive.
Remember those Bob Hartley teams? They weren't great, but God, did they work hard. People got behind those teams, not because they won a lot, not because they played perfect hockey, but because you got the sense that they gave a shit. The owner is focused on certain things. When there are empty seats and when people aren't buying beer and people are leaving early and not spending as much money, that shows up very quickly in areas that he's noticing. I think that one area that this city would be supportive is if you commit to getting younger and better. I don't think it's going to be dead. I think people would say, this is the right thing to do. I'm glad they're doing it. I want to see some of the kids. So there's the case again for the rebuild, the unspeakable word here in Calgary.
Yeah, can't say it.
Couldn't, at least under Feaster.
I can't say it.
And I get what Dreg says about it's tough to accept and that you worry about the fan base. I think Calgary's a different
big time
situation than Winnipeg. I really do.
The suites and the corporate money at the Dome is so different than anything you're doing in Winnipeg. And if it's tough for an oil and gas company that makes hundreds of millions of dollars a year to get certain people in a suite on a Tuesday night, they don't care. They're keeping their suite because they know teams will be better down the road. Yeah. It's not like Uncle Jim, when my mortgage is going up, I'm going to shed the Flames tickets. They've got massive corporate support here. The owner is worth billions of dollars. If you are willing to have some short-term financial pain, God, it would be a financial windfall if this team was good when they opened a new rink in 4 or 5 years, whatever it is.
And remember, the rebuild being a dirty word. We don't use that. That was Jay Feaster. It was also at the start of this season at that press conference, if you recall. When John Maloney and John Bean,
the good one, the train wreck one. Okay.
When they were asked about it, and I mean, tongue in cheek and joking about it, that they couldn't use that word. That sure seems like it's the mentality.
We'll see.
This a forced rebuild. Guess you're gonna have to take it.
The only time they've rebuilt is when it's been forced upon them. It's not by their own decision making. It was just so blatantly obvious. Like, we're going to be bad and be old and capped out. Okay, we have to. We're close to that here. 8 games in.
So what we need to do then, retro, next week or whenever you're coming out, we're going to need you to take away Conroy's cell phone. No deals, no contract signings. Don't let him talk to any agents.
Didn't we have this policy with Tree after free agency a while ago? He
no more buying stock
back to back
in the 23-24 Flames.
Man, he's listening. He knows.
Yeah, honestly, I think what we all looked at this summer was like, this would be the best time to do this. But we also understand the GM has marching orders given to him by an owner.
I got to think that he was considering it, and it's what you always talk about, and what you just said about Huberdeau was that if you were going to sell, you were wanting to sell if they were playing better, and I think he was waiting to find out what do we have, and can these guys play better so I can get better value? And I think the rest of the GMs around the league were looking at him, going, "Yeah, you want to make a deal? We can make a deal.
Here's a bad deal.
Yeah, here's a bad deal for you." And now, but it's kind of like it's that thing where it's like probably right now he'd be like, "Yeah, I'll take that bad deal." Now it's even worse deal. So
that's why you have to take his phone away. Yeah. No extensions, no bad deals.
Don't let him do it.
Yeah, those bad deals in July are worse here in October.
Yeah.
How have we gone?
Hannafin's agent is on the phone. Get
Busy.
some duct tape, throw him in the trunk. Conroy, he's not available. Can't take your call.
Yeah, he's at a doctor's appointment. When's he out?
Yeah, he's so sick.
December 27. He's in there for a while. Yeah.
He's got shingles.
Oh,
he's got rickets. He can't.
A lot of pain right now. Can't talk.
So sore. Painful for an adult.
We had a somewhat small silver lining, but actually a pretty large silver lining. The man they call Solo. Ilya Solo. First game in the NHL, Dean. He had the solo lap for Solo before the game. This is the first 7th rounder to play in the 2020 draft. This is a nice little story. Didn't play in the OHL till he was 19. Drafted as a 20-year-old. You love the late blooming underdog story, Rhett.
I do like the late blooming underdog story, Mr. Solio. I could say it last night. I can't today.
Well,
I get in my own head. It's like Denis Shapovalov all over again. Dean, you're gonna have to take this one for us.
Ilya Soloviev.
And welcome to the team, Ilya. I mean, what an example they set for you in how to go about playing.
Do you think they? Yeah, do you think they brought in a cake and had a big celebration in the room after?
Yeah.
Hey, game puck here for Solo. Hey, Solo,
Solo,
boy.
Yeah.
Woo!
Now, Solo, you don't mind talking to the media for us, eh? Because that was, I can't do it after this one.
Kid's probably doing media. So tell us about your first game. Looking over,
not great.
Well, I mean,
I guess
I enjoyed it. It was
my mom was here.
It's the first game. It was a lot of fun.
It's a nice little find, though. Remember, we talked about not a lot of defensive prospects beyond Poirier. Who do you got? Well, here's a guy we didn't see coming.
Yeah.
Love it. And defense first. You love that, Rhett. First
Blocking
game,
shots.
16 and a half minutes. One shot, one blocked, one shot block, one minor penalty for cross-checking. Love that. And the coach said, yeah, for a first game, that was pretty damn good. Certainly not high on their list of you got to be better from last night.
Easy to look good last night, too, is the other thing. If you were wearing a red jersey.
Don't
so he had more ice time than Huberdeau in the second period. Interesting.
Yeah, that's fine.
Well, you know who looked great the other night, and it's this plays right into the old scar tissue of the last decade. A goalie we probably never heard of before, Dino. Congratulations to our boy, Joel Hofer, who had an offer. No one scored on him. First career shutout, of course.
Yeah.
Love to see it. You got Christopher Gibson, didn't you?
Well, and that was the thing I put on Twitter last night, getting Hofered. And guys were like, actually, no, they're not. This is not getting Christopher Gibson because they had 50 shots or whatever that night. The guy played well. This was not getting Hofered. This was just stubbing your own, tripping on your own thing.
Shooting yourself in the foot.
That
was
sure.
Friendly fire for sure. Okay, elsewhere, leaving the game, the Flames were serenaded with the fans singing. They were singing "Boo."
Maybe they don't realize that Lucic doesn't play, that he's in Boston now.
You know what? They heard that Ruch had skated yesterday morning, and they're like, Ruch, we want you to be ready for Sunday in Edmonton. Ruch.
You realize you're the only human using Ruch.
I've seen it after Ruch.
No, you've not seen
on Twitter.
You've not seen it.
It is true. It might be maybe one of my aliases,
right?
Yeah, burners, but other accounts have tweeted Ruch.
Is it the Twitter? Is it the Twitter that your liver has? Ryan Pinder's liver?
I don't run that one, and that guy comes in and out of hibernation. I haven't heard from him in a while, which is odd. I thought I would have heard from him after Wednesday night. Let's move along. Hey, how are Flames fans treating this one? Let's go into the fan base on Twitter. I'm not sure if this is AI or just a joke or not. Just smashed my TV in front of 30 guests at my son's birthday party because of the Flames. My wife took a look at our crying kids, and they're all spending the weekend at her mom's house. This team has ruined my marriage. I can't handle this anymore. I'm no longer a fan. That's a new TV, Rhett. Don't do that to your landlords.
It's not the TV's fault.
Yeah, you better get that. The TV's fault.
You better get that back in the box before the.
This game damaged.
Don't blame Sony or Samsung. This is Central Living the bill. What do we do here, Dean?
Well, yeah.
Maybe Hubie can buy the guy a TV.
I wonder how Brad's feeling. He must be.
I think he's happy in Toronto, but they're heading out there. We looked at the schedule. They got a 3-game roadie. They play back-to-back in Toronto, Ottawa.
He must really wish he was here to try and help.
Those are going to be curious because the Leafs are good, but it's going to be hey, what's Brad like as a GM? Oh my God, he built this team. He made a lot of bets, and not a lot of them broke his way in the last year and a half.
Drafted Coronado. Oh,
he's made a lot of good moves. It's just the last few big ones have not done great so far. Battle of Alberta coming up. Ryan Pike letting us know these two teams red hot. Whew. They're only going to give out 2 to 3 points. 3-10-2, which that leads us to our next item. Here it is. This is live action from Commonwealth.
That's the Oilers and Flames heading up Highway 2. Jesus.
Just a warm-up lap there. Not great. Not great at all.
I just like that we don't kick people when they're down. You know, we're always punching up.
Keep punching, Boom. That's what Aussie Brad says.
Keep punching. How's Aussie
Brad
doing?
We need a check-in.
Oh.
Let's get past the outdoor game.
We need to give Trigger a call and see if Brad's okay.
Ooh, Trigger's sniffing at him. He's passed out on the floor with a pile of bottles around him, licking his face, trying to wake him up.
Because he's always so enthusiastic and he's all in and things are going to turn around and retro this and Iggy that.
I just hope one of those kangaroos hasn't got him. One of those boomers. That's what they call him. Big red boomer. Yeah.
Bastard.
Here are the comments from last night's Afterburner. If you want another little bit of a taste from the fan base. These are just a few of the comments we saw. Treliving's team cut and run. It's not when they will win a game. It's when will they score a goal. Brown bag time. If my jerseys weren't Fleury, Iggy, Kipper, Gio, I'd be tempted to toss them. I've seen a lot of mediocrity in my time. I can't say I've ever seen this boring or uninteresting brand of hockey in my life. I've seen a team with Mike Smith and James Neal on it, but I've never seen, oh my gosh, a more selfish and unaccountable player than Kadri. There's some negativity out there.
And honestly, I was like, no one throw a jersey on the ice. Like, just don't do that.
Not
boo
yet.
And whatever, because
oh my goodness! I just thought about it. There's one market famous for jersey tosses more than
I know. I was looking for that last night.
Are the seats close enough?
No.
At Commonwealth,
I don't think they'll make it.
One of those slingshots that
you're gonna have
one of those T-shirt guns.
Yes, we need MacGyver to somehow get a jersey onto the ice from Commonwealth seats.
Or remember that there was the paraglider that came in on the boxing match at Caesar's Palace that one time.
That's right. Yeah.
Get a guy jump out of a plane with something.
Yeah.
Fire the jersey.
We don't get enough streakers these days. Do a naked protest jersey toss. Let's go. Just for the fans. Yeah. No. Okay. Alumni event coming up. Want to tell you about it. Theo Fleury's Breaking Free charitable cause, which obviously supports incredible causes, has got a poker tournament coming up. First annual. I believe that's called an inaugural. How about that? November 4th, 3 p.m. Look at that. Dinner included. Asian buffet. Love that. Buy-ins $275, and the Breaking Free Foundation gets $125 of that. A great cause for a bunch of the alumni. Colin Patterson, our pal, sits on the board of the Breaking Free Foundation, and want to highlight a lot of the great work they do and the money they raise.
Awesome.
Very good.
Just another week with more charitable events. Good people.
Pat McAfee likes the NHL, Dean. I don't even know this.
It's awesome.
Apparently.
Hockey's awesome.
Hockey is
awesome. We want the refs in the NFL to be like the refs in the NHL.
On the forecheck, Nieto.
Couldn't come up with it. Hockenpot does.
I owe you a beer. Hey, sorry about that. I got in the way there. I owe you a beer, pal. I do wonder if he took him up on that beer, or maybe a vodka, maybe a whiskey. You know, whenever you're utilizing a stick, there's a chance that thing could break. How do you get a stick fast enough? Boom! You get an equipment manager that is like Superman, grabbing that stick, holding it over, and then what? Break away. Go time! Silky Mitts! David Savard, boom! Gets hit. Right in the hand. No stick. Let me get your stick. Boom! Loses his blade. Loses the blade. Bang! Gets hit in the leg.
Oh, man.
Broken hand, bruised calf, all in one play. I'm stopping a goal no matter what. But in hockey, if you get got, you got to get yours more than you get got, though. Look what happened to Kachuk last night. This dude skating, flying, tripped. Oh, yeah? Let's fight. Gloves down. Heavy bombs. Boom, bang, pow. Right in front of his bench. We need more of that in the world. 25, 30 miles an hour. Death-defying speeds. What are you going to do? Oh, I don't know. I'm going to take a puck behind my back, through my legs, and then I'm going to score a goal. Ladies and gentlemen, that is why hockey is awesome.
They got the new hype man. Whatever ESPN's paying him, double it and have him work for the league.
Yeah, he's doing about one of those a week right now. I think that was the day after the Frozen Frenzy. So
right. That was the Paul Cotter goal. And it's funny, we've seen a lot of those in the Pinder Report over the last 2 weeks. He's got the good stuff, my friend.
He does have the good stuff.
You heard the news of Shane Pinto, and you're thinking, okay, guys can't be gambling if they're hockey players. Dreger's helped us clear up some of the confusion. Is that hockey is another sport? Now Dreger's saying, well, maybe someone else was logged into his account and made a bet on hockey. Either way, the fans of Vancouver, the Twitter Vancouver fans have always been very creative. Here's what they're thinking regarding this in terms of their team. Open account, British Columbia, Tyler Myers.
Come on.
Is he that bad?
Hey. For those that are just listening, it's a screenshot of somebody opening an account for Tyler Myers.
First off,
with the hopes that he would get suspended. Come on now.
Second of all, don't be doing that to Tyler Myers.
Fellas.
That's not fair. Fellas. Okay. Next.
It's from DeWinton.
Game 1 coming up. World Series. Where are we? What are we doing? Well, the D-backs on the road to face.
Did you say D-bags?
Close. World Series Game 1. They're the fellas. Look at that.
Look at that.
Do we care? Do we have predictions? Is there a team we love? Is there a character? Is it?
I want to care.
I was just going to say, Rhett, I want to care.
Yeah.
Let's go. Boom. Weekend bet. I'll take Texas.
Okay. I'll take the other ones.
The D-bags.
I'll take the D-bags. The T-bags.
Red Rose tea for Dino there.
Who doesn't love a good teabagging, you know? Let's go. I got him.
Raptors back on it tonight. Rhett, game 2. I asked you game 1. Are you part of the North? You said no. They're 1-0. You love the new coach. Rhett, are you part of the North?
No.
Okay. They were in Chicago tonight to face the Bulls. Watch out for MJ and Pippen. They're good. James,
do you have any NBA, some Jack's facts about the NBA?
No, so we go to the Jack Cam. What's our NBA update, Jack? What do we got?
I got nothing. I didn't watch a lick of NBA yesterday.
Come on. Try to give him a segment. And
Jack's facts. Let's go.
James Harden he's been playing as much as Jack has. Went to the team plane to get on. You're not welcome here, sir. Went to the airport, denied entry onto the plane by a security official. This is incredible drama. It's his old GM from Houston. That's the GM in Philly. He says, I'll never play for them again. I want to be traded. All kinds of trust issues back and forth, but he's kind of got to show up so that he keeps getting paid, but he doesn't want to play, and they don't want to toss the guy around, but they could try to move him. This is great stuff. And remember when he was fat for like a week and then showed up in Brooklyn and was in like great shape a week later? This guy is unreal.
Yeah, he is something else.
The beard. The beard.
Fear the beard.
Fear the beard. Fellas cleaned up at the CPL Awards, the Cavalry contingent. I don't know what they're charging for extra bags on planes these days, but there's a lot. We'll start. Tommy, Coach of the Year.
Look at the cut of that man's jib.
Keep clapping. Okay, next. What do we got? Golden Boot, Meyer Bevan. South Kiwi.
Attaboy, Meyer. Got a golden boot.
Golden Boot winner.
Boot. You got a booter.
That's not all. How about Dan Klomp, Defender of the Year, the Flying Dutchman?
Don.
Anthony loves that from Village Honda.
Donnie boy.
And better than Defender of the Year, why don't you just win Player of the Year on top of that? Holy moly, Don, as you called him.
Don Klomp.
Player of the Year.
Klomper.
Well, but, you know, there's got to be some other guys, too. What about the player's player? The player's got to vote. Ali Moosey.
Ali.
Oh, my God.
Moose. Moose.
That's a lot of awards, fellas. So here's a picture of a bunch of them. That's well done. Now, tomorrow is the league final. I don't want this getting in anyone's head. Don't even look at those.
Are they in a
those damn
bathtub there?
trophies.
Is that like soap suds?
This is art.
What do they got going there?
How dare you? This is art. Anyway, there's
Stop
still
looking
one
at me,
more
Swan.
award. There's one more award they'd like, right? This is one of my favorite memes. Y'all got any more of them trophies? This is the foot soldiers throwing that up. The supporters group. The final is tomorrow. It is a 4:00 start. It is at Tim Hortons Field in Hamilton. It is. Oh, look at those evil.
Look at the stink
stairs.
guy there. Give him the old
Yeah,
side eye.
Bobby Smearnitis and Tommy Wilton Jr. These guys, biggest rivalry in the league, right since year one. Stinking Kyle Becker with his stinking blonde hair on the left. Get out of here, stinking Kyle Becker. And our boy Marco Carducci.
I was going to say, we like Marco Carducci, eh, Retro?
Incorrect.
Somebody
We
in the
love
house does.
Marco Carducci.
Yeah.
So there it is, 4:00 tomorrow. Marco Carducci. Okay, Stamps. Huge game. Not tonight, next week. Tonight is the last game. Rhett, why are you covering your head like that? This is tonight, 7 p.m. Game
I
day,
got to
baby.
listen to this.
Let's
I can go watch my kid play hockey. Move it.
Yeah, we're almost
You're
done here.
boring, everybody.
Yeah, I'm the one carving the CFL now, apparently. Okay. Finally, couple items. If you feel like this hockey team is just too much, it's ruining your life, you need context. You need to put things in perspective. Here's a little reminder of the scale of how important pro sports is, guys. And I don't want to like sewer our podcast, but take a look here. So this is the solar system. You're familiar with the sun and the other planets. You're going to like this, Rant.
Is this some constellations?
No, those are other stars. These are planets.
All right.
This is our solar system. So this is how we think it is, right? Everything's going around the sun. What we forget is that the sun's actually zipping through space at like a bajillion miles an hour. So this is what's actually happening all the time right now. So if you're a little upset with maybe a contract on a hockey team or price of beer at the Saddle, just remember there's very, very small and insignificant over the course of what's actually happening right now, dude.
Thank God I'm not on Zoomers right now. I'd be tripping out.
Thank God I am. I finally get this stuff.
I was going to say, I'm
Fun
feeling
guy.
great right now.
And
Jack,
I
play that
finally got
again?
the perfect Halloween costume. We talked about Tommy Wheeldon. We talked about other guys. Here's my guy. This is Halloween on Tuesday. Hope you guys have your costumes ready. There's Weird Al. Baby.
You could pull that off.
I got the shirts. I got the hair. What do we? Of course, it's Weird Al.
You sure that's not you?
I mean, on Tuesday it will be.
Weird Al Jankovic. Yeah.
There's your
Nice.
Pinder Report, fellas, on a Friday.
Brought to you
Wine
by Village Honda. Huge selection of used vehicles, all makes, all models, all budgets. Over 70 units on site, access to more than 400 more in the dealer group. Make Village Honda your one-stop automotive destination in Calgary. They are definitely worth the trip. Village Honda, located in the Northwest Auto Mall. Anthony's going to be tighter than a snare drum for this Cavalry game tomorrow.
He's in LA. Talk to him, but he'll find it. It's easier to find on US TV than the Canadian, well, for reasons we'll talk about other times. He's dialed. He's fired up.
Oh, son of a gun. Where am I?
What are you missing?
Talk amongst you. Well, you know what? Let's do our Betway picks.
Oh,
I
yeah.
gotta find
Football
my,
picks. Football picks.
I got to find my notes. Got to find the notes.
Rhett, this is the week. I've lost 10 consecutive selections against the spread in the NFL.
You're due, buddy.
I'm so due.
10 in a row?
Oh, yeah, because it's 3 weeks in a row of 0 for 3s, and I lost a Monday night of the week before that.
Douche.
Heavy goose.
Betway. Our Betway buddies, get the Betway app on your phone. Play along. Hey, maybe, again, this is, insert Shane Pinto punchline here. It's not about that. Yeah,
Sure isn't.
When I say get the Betway app on your phone, I'm not talking to Rasmus Anderson.
No,
who, by the
don't
way,
do
hey, happy birthday today, Rasmus Anderson.
Come back anytime you want, Rasmus, or at least as soon as they let you back.
26, I think,
Please.
is Rasmus Anderson.
Just
Something like that.
spring chicken.
It's a nice age.
So not for those guys. We don't want you guys rules. And yeah,
those rules.
be 19 and over in Ontario, but bet the responsible way with Betway. NFL, your Bills got her done, Rhett. Impressive fashion last night.
Oh, God.
You're lucky, Rhett.
Impressive?
You're lucky. They didn't cover the spread. You would have taken a loss there.
I wasn't taking him. I told you that.
You're oddly on and off at the same time.
I love the Bills, but they did not impress last night.
No,
they and nearly lost if Chris Godwin turns around a second earlier for a Hail Mary that could have landed right in his bread basket. Anyway, let's start us off. It's the Betway point spread picks, NFL Week 8. Lots of opportunity here. Strategy changing a little bit. Atlanta, Tennessee. Who's the kid that's going to be starting there now for the Titans?
There's two.
Bananarama.
There's Willis and the other guy, isn't there? Isn't Derek Willis starting for some of this game?
No, it's not Derek Willis. It's the other
two
guy.
of them.
Yeah, the guy they drafted this year that had the Cougars hanging around. Anyway, I don't like laying points on the road with a team that screwed me a week ago, but Tennessee, 2.5. I'm going to take the Falcons here. New England. Oh, did you see last week?
Oh, they were good, Dean.
Hung in there. Big win. Not fooled. Miami at home, -9.5.
Not a boy.
Yep. Hey, did you see that Tyreek Hill didn't practice and Raheem Mostert
Don't get
lay the number. Don't be fooled. And Minshew Mania continues. Nearly beat. Should have beat if it were not for the refs last week. Could have beaten Cleveland. New Orleans getting a point on the road. No, thank you. I'm taking the Colts at home +1.
+1. I love that.
To try and get my record somewhat more respectable.
Can we go to Rhett next? I feel like we need to crescendo with my 0-10 run here.
Okay.
You got to go with teams that you don't know anything about. And that's what I've decided.
That's the key to success. Hey, he's got the best numbers, and we can't just debate with him about this.
So definitely dip deep into your wallet.
You can't let your heart lead your head and your... Anyway, I'm a big Jack Cam fan, new subscriber. Let's go Steelers over Jacksonville. Please. Steel Curtain, Canada, at home. Houston at Carolina. Like I said, go with a team you know nothing about.
Yep.
Houston, we're going to do it.
Yeah, go, guys.
This
What
is
color
so
do they wear,
convincing.
What
Can I
color do
change
they
my
wear?
picks?
And I think Minnesota, did they just win or lose? I can't remember because they got stomped by
They
Baltimore.
just won, Red.
They beat the Niners, Red.
They beat the Niners, Kirk.
But anyway, they're good. Damn
Oh,
it.
so
And they're
good.
the Vikings.
They're so good.
Go Minnesota.
Yeah.
It's this thing, right? Do this. Get the skull.
Skull.
Oh, yeah.
Very good.
That
Can't
guy
argue.
and that guy with that rationale is
10-8.
leading all of us with a record of 10-8. I love it.
Jacko, look at this. He's
Oddly
back,
enough,
fellas.
I'm back, and I've got the same picks as Rhett pretty much. Pittsburgh home dogs, love it. Canada cooking last week.
Stop
Pittsburgh
it.
looks
So
good.
Canada cooking. Get out of
Let
here.
him
Houston
cook,
goes
yeah.
to Carolina. CJ Stroud versus Bryce Young. Young has not looked very good. Stroud looks
No.
very, very good. I like Houston
It's true.
-3.5. KC at Denver. Kansas looked sharp last week against the Chargers. I got them -7 here in Denver.
All right, so here we are. I'm keeping the process the same. I've learned from some of the greats. Dean, you did this a couple of years ago when you had a similar spell. So here I go. Really, really, really like Indianapolis getting a point at home. Minshew's been zipping the ball around, as you said.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to have to go New Orleans -1 on the road.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
The Jets are a way better football team than the Giants, who will have to use Tyrod Taylor again. I think it's a great spot for Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson. Zach Wilson hasn't been that bad. I love the Jets -2.5, so I'll take the Giants +2.5.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the Kansas City Chiefs are so much better than the Denver Broncos. It's not funny. They easily cover by a touchdown, so I'll take Denver +7.
I'm telling you what, I bet you go 3-0. Because when I was looking at picks this morning, I was thinking the same thing. It's not going to, Danny Dimes probably isn't playing again. It's going to be,
he's not. He's got rolled out this morning. Yeah.
It's the Jets coming off a bye. Basically, it's a home game. It's a road game. They're at home. Yeah, take the Giants because there's no reason why they should win. New Orleans getting points on the road after Indy put up 38 points or whatever last week. Yeah, it's definitely goofy Derek Carr. And Denver at home to Kansas City. I bet you go 3-0.
Hey, man.
Love those picks.
Everyone's been loving my picks. If you've been betting against them, you're bloody wealthy. You can buy this podcast. I'll come work for you. Okay.
Is it, oh, damn it. Where's my... Come on, guys. Fellas. What'd you do with my notes? I thought
I didn't touch any of your notes, you bastard. No one's come to your house.
Tell them about Greta.
Greta Bar. We got a event coming up mid-November. Come join us. We have the season opening
Sunday.
Pardon me?
Edmonton.
Oh, of course, yes. Well, if you're heading up to Edmonton to watch the Heritage Classic game between the Flames and the Oilers, if you want to go around and chat with some other Flames fans that are up, or ask Oiler fans how many years left are on Leon Draisaitl's contract, you can do that at Greta in Edmonton. They'll be having 3 buses going to and from the game, get you there, get you back. It is a Nation Network gathering at Greta Bar in Edmonton, and do make sure to ask how many years are left on Leon Draisaitl's current contract. Thank you.
That's going to go from 1 until 3 p.m. at Greta. Now, I love Edmonton with their addresses because I never know what it is. 10141 109th Street Northwest.
Right. Just put Google on it. You'll be fine.
Could we have more numbers for me, please? So where are we going? 10141 on 109th Street.
Thanks. I'll be right there.
Great. Yeah,
Nope,
I'll be right
just
there.
hammer
So
it
yeah,
into the
1
map.
till 3 at the Greta Bar there in Edmonton. And they actually have buses that'll take
That's
you
right.
and back. Limited spots available. I don't think it's you don't reserve in spots, but go to Greta, hang out, get on a bus, go to the game, go back to Greta afterwards. Why wouldn't you?
Daryl coming with the heat in the chat on you there.
Oh, boy. Shit. Betting against Binder's picks for sure. He's one of our hardcore listeners. He's got
Does, yeah.
unbelievable cell service or
Lots of
something.
Bastard's got all kinds of free time right now, doesn't he?
How, you know what?
Harvest is done.
I hope he's walking around the rink in Edmonton, just hanging out.
Oh God, wouldn't that be something? Put a nice old hat on and just.
Oh, are the Flames playing tonight? Oh, are they playing? Oh,
how's
no
that
idea.
worked out this year? How's the French kid doing?
Also, while we're talking about Edmonton, it's a lot of Edmonton talk today. If you're heading up for the outdoor game, get ready. Finning Cat is going to be part of the WestJet NHL Fan Park, located at the Edmonton Ice District Fan Park. It's your go-to destination for family-friendly fun, where you'll meet your hockey heroes. Join them today. Today's Friday, man.
Oh my God, guys.
From 3 until 9 p.m. today, and tomorrow from noon till 6. Plus, swing by the Finning Cat booth for free swag and a chance to sit in some heavy-duty equipment.
Yeah.
The WestJet NHL Fan Park with Finning Cat. Visit finning.com/Heritage Classic for more details. Cat is a proud partner of the NHL.
I believe Pike Bomb, he's heading up right now. I talked to some other media members. They're already on their way. This is a weekend extravaganza where we can bask in the celebration of 2 of the greatest hockey teams ever to play the sport.
Retro, what are you doing for the game on Sunday?
I don't know. Sitting on my couch.
Yeah?
Do you want to film it?
Pike Bomb.
Film it.
Well, here's what we're doing in Calgary, Rhett. Dean, what are you doing? 3 o'clock on Sunday.
Well, again, we've done 0 promotion of it, so I don't even know if it's.
I think it'll be
if
great.
It's Friday.
These are the things that we typically do the best on in a weird way.
We were going to have our own commentary of the game.
No, we're not allowed to
Pinder-
show the game. We're not rights holders.
Yeah, we're not going to show the game. I mean, you know where to go for the game.
Right.
But where else can you get our kind of analysis and in-depth thoughts about the game as it takes place than right here on our YouTube channel?
And I know what you're thinking. Rick Ball, Hunter Ryan Singh do a fantastic
Yeah, let
job
them
of
do their
play-by-play.
thing, yeah.
You're right. But if you want someone to F-bomb the S out of a defenseman that blew a tire, you come to us. Get your second screen going, okay?
Peyton and Eli.
Yeah.
No, definitely not that. Maybe like Stadler and Waldorf would be the better one.
Yeah. Maybe we'd love to have you on at some point, Red. Maybe in one of the
I can't
intermissions.
promise anything, but sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sunday's a few days away. He might be at the game still. He doesn't know what his availability is going to be like.
Yeah, it's true. It is true. Hey, look over my shoulder.
We'll have an afterburner as well after that, fellas. Yeah.
DoorDash. Get your door. It's it's chilly here, Retro. We got more snow. It's a DoorDash weekend. It's a DoorDash weekend. Restaurants, grocery, pharmacies, bakeries, flower shops, whatever you need. It's the most convenient thing ever. You order off of the app, and whatever you want, order whatever you want from wherever you want, shows up on your doorstep with default contactless delivery. It's
Works
as
for me.
though, are they in the room? Is DoorDash like tailoring their business around me? This is the
Where's
greatest
the
thing
kitchen?
ever. So I don't need to go to the grocery store, to the bakery, to the pharmacy. DoorDash. Now, here's the thing. For a limited time, our listeners can get 25% off and 0 delivery fees on their first order of $15 or more when you download the DoorDash app and enter the code NATION25, NATION25. Put it in the promo code, you're going to have that deal. There you go, just like that.
Bang,
That's the
look at
promo
that.
code right there. And here's the thing. If you use it, DoorDash is going to see that what we're doing here is working. We're getting response for them, for their ads. Might get some more deals like this down the road. Maybe something different for November. Maybe something in
Work for
December.
everyone, fellas.
So, and why would you go anywhere else? It's a hell of a
Nation
deal.
25. That's a deal.
DoorDash. What's on the menu? Pinder.
Triple
What are you
header.
seeing?
This is, you know what? Some restaurants you go to, and it's just like, I don't even know what I'm going to do. We might have to get a bunch of stuff and share everything because there's so much good stuff on the menu. Tonight, we got that. Arizona at Texas, game 1 of the World Series, 6:03 first pitch. We also have Raptors Bulls, 6 o'clock start. Chicago's favored by 2.5 points. And we have the Blue Bombers and Stampeders, 7 o'clock kickoff. Calgary getting 2.5 points against the Bombers at home. Those are your 3 games I'm going to recommend because of the weather. Bibimbap, the Korean dish. Rhett, are you familiar?
I am. Delicious.
Phenomenal. The egg on top. Oh, man. Rice. It's, I'm trying to make sure I pronounce this right. I went to the Googles. Let's see what they say. Bibimbap. Bibimbap.
You got it. You nailed it.
So I'm doing that on DoorDash tonight. Nation 25. You've never heard it? You've never had bibimbap before?
I don't know.
Love it, Dean.
Oh, Dean, it's right up your alley.
Korean
Are you
paella.
kidding me?
Huh.
You want the description?
Okay.
Okay, it's like a big bed of rice. You get a little bit of kimchi in there.
All right.
You're gonna have some protein. You got a cracked egg on top. All kinds of nice spices and vegetables. Let's see what's in this thing.
Huh. Well,
It's
I'm
Korean
going to
dish.
take this. I mean,
It's good, Dean.
but what does Jack think? Jack, do you like Baboom Bop?
I don't even know what we're talking about.
Yeah,
It is a Korean dish that is served as a bowl of warm rice topped with egg, sliced meat, stirred together thoroughly just before eating.
Meh.
Dude, I'm telling you, you're going to love this thing. Do you like rice bowls? Things like that?
Jack's
Just
facts.
order a pizza or something.
We did that yesterday. We literally had pizza and wings last night on DoorDash. Hell off me, Jack. Let's go to the Jack Cam. You're going to have the same meal 2 nights in a row?
Hell yeah.
Just order pizza or something.
Man.
So if it's Biboom Bop or pizza, like, again, whatever
whole
it is you
thing.
want,
That's the
that's
whole
what
thing.
DoorDash is all about. It's not about what you're ordering. It's about how convenient it is. Nation25 is the promo code. Again, 25% off at 0 delivery fees on your first order. If you've never done it, you got to get that. Get the DoorDash app. Just go into the App Store, download it. $15 or more is your order. You're going to get 25% off and 0 delivery fees with the Nation25 promo code Nation25. Thank you, DoorDash. Dash that for the win with DoorDash. Yes, Daryl wondering. I don't know if they have DoorDash in Viking.
Go to the website. Check it out.
Yeah, you got to download the app. It'll tell you. Now, Retro, we talked about this yesterday. I sat and said, you know what? Come on, guys. You're going to play well here. Zadorov came out and said what he did, and Coleman's sick of losing and all this sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think the guys are going to come out and play well tonight. They played well against the Rangers, but they just didn't pull out a win. They're going to get it going. And you said, I feel like it could go the other way. It's a loss and then maybe a closed-door players-only meeting.
Rhett was closer.
You were definitely closer. If it was the Price is Right, you were closer.
Why didn't they have a closed door? Doesn't it
I
matter to
think
these
they
guys?
probably had an open door meeting, and the coach may or may not have been in there, but they definitely were talking about it. That was a steaming pile last night.
They just probably, yeah.
Bad
Hey guys,
Bad
we got to talk.
leadership.
Yeah, I'm starving. I got
I got a
Baboom
rezo
Bop.
at 10:30. I got to
Yeah.
hustle here, fellas.
I don't want my Baboom Bop getting cold. I got to.
Yeah, it's on the front door already.
You don't
I gotta
want
hustle,
it.
guys.
Yeah, it's the worst. Everybody, have a great weekend. If you're going up to the big outdoor game, slide by Greta at whatever that address is up there. It's a bunch of numbers.
Just put it in your phone in
Google it.
Edmonton. Your phone will take you there.
Yeah, and then on Sunday, in theory, Pinder and I are going to be hanging out watching the game.
Have some fun with us on the stream. I got some Lugans that want to come in and drink beer and just watch the game. Should we just have them loitering in the background?
Whatever you want to do.
Then I'm doing it.
All right, fair enough. And there you see it at the top of your screen. We are continuing to sell those spots. The Barn Burner Vacation. We are off to Phoenix coming up in January, the 11th to 13th. Going to see the Flames take on the Coyotes. $14.99 per person. That's based on double occupancy. Flights, hotel, transportation to and from the airport. Game tickets to the Flames and Coyotes. Nationgear.ca is the website. Nationgear.ca. Get on that. And it's, as you can see there, presented by Alberta Blue Cross. The Alberta Blue Cross memorable moment. There's only one thing better than sharing memories, and that is making new ones. Alberta Blue Cross Travel Insurance protects your memories and more. Wherever travel takes you, visit ab.bluecross.ca/travel. That's ab.bluecross.ca/travel for more information. Alberta Blue Cross, celebrating life's memorable moments inspired by hockey. I said Pinder should have been taking his kids up there. Having, again, these memorable moments inspired by hockey.
We have lots of those. We got 2 big games this weekend. The fellas each have a turn in net. One's very excited about that. We'll see. And this is a great question from Doug in the comments. Have we announced Aussie Brad going on the Phoenix trip? If we do, it'll be sold out by the end of day.
Well, he could meet us there.
Could inquire.
Yeah, he could meet
That's
us
a big
there.
haul. He's probably about 13, 14 hours to LA and then a short little after a layover if U.S. Customs is letting him in. So we'll ask him what's up.
Buddies, we appreciate you. It's been a big week. We've had some awesome numbers. The show is rolling, and we got a lot of things coming, and we appreciate all of our sponsors. We'd appreciate it if you'd support the sponsors, because that's how this whole thing continues to roll. What will next week entail? Post Heritage Classic, Dallas coming to town.
I'm nervous about the schedule. They actually
As the
start playing some playoff teams here soon.
As the month of November is right around the corner. Have a great weekend, everybody. Appreciate you. See you, buddies.